Okay, we're live. Okay. Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 189. I'm Haim Cohen, and Tom is right there. Hi, Tom.
Hey, everybody.
So I know it's been a while. Some of us have real jobs. Some of us pretend to have real jobs.
I don't have a real job.
And I pretend to have a real job. So life gets in the way. I had all the Jewish holidays this week, so we're sorry. It's been a while, but we're going to get back on track. We just needed that little break there. I mean, the good thing is not too many news stories came out. There's some there, nothing that we can really do 30 minutes on. But I think we got three good news stories that we can talk about and get you up and running in what's going on.
We do. So the first big story is that I'm back on World of Warcraft.
That's
good.
I
know. I know. I could hear your disappointment. I understand.
Well, so the last World of Warcraft that I've played was in 2002.
Wow, has it been around that long?
I was in college, a freshman year in college, and it was Counter-Strike, which I understand is not the current Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
And World of Warcraft, which is not the current World of Warcraft.
Well, so you're probably thinking of just Warcraft, and I think you're thinking of Warcraft 3.
Yes.
This is the MMO World of Warcraft, which has been going on. It's the same game for like 15 years or something. I quit way back in the day after like throwing hundreds of hours of my life at this one game. And the latest expansion and my wife playing it. Now I'm back in. It's got me good. I've put in like 40 hours already.
I mean, I've beaten 2 games this summer. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Mario Odyssey. I mean, I don't remember the last time I beat a single video game. It has to be over a decade. So
they're just so good.
I really like the Switch. If you did buy a Switch, I think you can't go wrong with buying a Nintendo Switch and a few games and just going at it.
Totally agree.
So we can talk about the online cost, but I actually have never done anything online. Like again, yeah. I played we were playing Xbox Live before it was Xbox Live. That's where I'm at. So well, in real security news, we're going to start with the big one that happened today as we record. Facebook had a 50 million account breach. That's what they call it. When you dig deeper, basically, there's a view as feature in Facebook, so you can set your permissions and privacy for what you want, this and that. And basically, there was an exploit there that got the hackers the ability to grab all this data, and they reset. I don't know if they reset everyone's password. Mine got reset, and I had to keep on resetting it. So Tom's not on Facebook, so he didn't get any of that.
Yep. So let's walk through. This is actually pretty great. Facebook did have a press call. They coordinated with the media to make sure that this information got out and was accurate. There weren't people speculating or saying, what did they get? What did they not get? How did they get in? Is my are my pictures safe? Stuff like that. So they did coordinate with the media. The New York Times put out a pretty good post and actually kind of mean to Facebook. I'm not going to argue with them. I think it was a very well-written piece, but it definitely shows that these guys are impartial. But let's take a step through Guy Rosen and what he said during this press conference. Now, Guy Rosen is actually the VP of Product Management for Facebook. And it seems like he took the technical lead in these discussions today. So he says, first he explains Facebook access tokens, which are like, they get set by a lot of different things. But let's say you're using a mobile app and you click on something that the mobile app doesn't have functionality for, and needs to take you to Facebook in the browser. It uses it generates an access token, which is a single sign-on token. So the browser doesn't have to prompt you for your password again. It just logs you right into your account. Lots of different things generate these access tokens. They're pretty well guarded because they are treated like temporary throwaway passwords to get into your account. They identify you. Now, they're supposed to be short-lived, so that's the background on that. There were 3 bugs chained together to make this access possible. first, and I'm totally taking this direct from Guy Rosen and what he said during the press conference. There's a great PDF here. Facebook has got the entire thing posted up on their Facebook newsroom, so you can go check that out. We'll link that in the show notes. He said that first, the view as function in a very specific case on certain types of posts, a video uploader would show up. This video uploader incorrectly used single sign-on, and it generated an access token that had permissions of the Facebook mobile app. The third bug, so those two don't really get you that much. It's this third bug and really the chaining of all these things that made this exploit possible. The third thing showed up as, it happened in view as. It generated an access token, but not for you as the person using view as, but as the user you are looking up. So you could then abuse that to get access tokens for virtually anyone. The reason they caught this is they did see a ton of activity around this bug and a bunch of activity of people using this bug. So their security team did find this. They did put a quash to this as soon as they found it. But 50 million users. It's pretty big. They're still doing their investigative work. The team is still, I'm sure nobody gets a weekend now. I'm sure nobody gets a weekend for quite a few weeks after this. They don't know exactly what was taken. They don't know exactly, they know about 50 million accounts, but they don't exactly know who yet. So they're still doing early investigations. They did come out with this news, basically after they found out. And they did take all of those access tokens and invalidate them. So if you got signed out of Facebook on literally everything, that's why.
So there's a couple things. So first, I was signed out of Facebook and everything. So I had a fun afternoon. And I'm already pretty careful with where I sign in and everything else. So I never say remember all this other stuff. So I noticed something before and I didn't know why. I log in and then you have your 2-factor code and you have everything else. But anyway, I figured, okay, whatever. It's 50 million people. Remember, Facebook has close to 2 billion people, 1.2 or 1.3 active users, billion active users. So they have a lot of users. 50 million doesn't sound like a lot, but they're probably all the same type of demographic. They're probably all in the US. It's probably mainly US. It's probably people who use video, who are very much active in Facebook. But anyway, it's the next thing is you have to look at GDPR. I bet you this came directly from GDPR, where they said anytime you get a breach, you have some amount of time to report it, something like 72 hours or something, to at least say something. I bet you I don't want to put words in Facebook mouth. I don't want to put anything in the security engineers. I bet you if they could have just reset the passwords and been done with it, they probably would have just done that, because most people probably wouldn't have cared.
It depends on what they took, right? If they saw somebody's using an exploit, but they couldn't actually get anywhere, they might not have reported it. That said, Facebook has had a good track record in the past of, being very forthcoming with security breaches. As far as their security team goes, they're a giant company and they do a lot of things right? They take this kind of stuff seriously. They noticed the breach themselves. They didn't have to have somebody like the FBI come in and say, hey, by the way, you've been hacked and you don't know it, right? They've got people who are making all the right moves. Actually holding a press conference and letting people know right up front is a good thing. Whether or not the GDPR is playing a role in that, it could be. It's not a bad thing, though. I do want to say that if you're looking for reasons to leave Facebook or to close your account or just step away from it, this probably shouldn't be one, right? These are like 3 super technical bugs that had to be chained together in just the right way to be pulled off. And Facebook still noticed it and still shut it down. Now, the bugs have been around since they said about 2017. And why they weren't found is because security's hard. Really, what we should take away from this, what the average user should take away from this, is that all of these systems, right? The entire Google suite of products, you look at Facebook, you look at any giant company that's got a huge system with a bunch of moving parts, there are going to be weird interactions. There are going to be nooks and crannies and edge cases that people just haven't even dreamed of. And sometimes it results in security exploits. Most of the time, those edge cases and intersections result in just run-of-the-mill program or application bugs, which, it's not great, but it's not a breach. Unfortunately, for the size and scope that the Facebook platform is, something like this happening isn't really all that surprising.
So that was our first. So when I got home, I had to re-authenticate everything, and I said, let me go to the security settings. Let me just make sure. Because like you said, Facebook does a good job, at least, of trying to lock down your account. When it comes to their security team and the different things, like I can get encrypted email. I can only use my security token. I can do two-factor. I can do a lot of these things. And they make it fairly simple to set up and use. So for that, I commend them and everything else. So like you said, if you're trying to find a reason to leave Facebook, this is not it. But I went through the permissions and I found all the logins. So at work, I log in incognito. And every time I log in incognito, I do save this browser just because it's easier than not checking it. So I had hundreds of entries of the browser token, I guess that's what you're describing, being saved that I had to go through and then remove them and remove them and remove them. So it took me a good 15 or 20 minutes. And I figured, you know what? Now is a good time to go through all the apps that have access, go through all the logins, revoke all of them. Because if I have to log into everything again, I might as well make sure everything is gone. So I did all of that and I set up. So in the show notes, I put in where you can find your logins. And I guess as you described, they're not cookies. They're these whatever security tokens. So I did that. I'm not leaving Facebook. I've definitely started taking a lot more information off, as much as I could. So I try to remove all the likes of businesses that have asked me to like them. I take those off. I try to put very little photos. I try to put very little of all these other things because the marketing part of Facebook and how they get the data and aggregate it, that's the creepier part, which is going to be our next story. But as far as the security breach, yes, something happened. Reset your passwords. You don't have to change. I don't think you have to change them. I think you just have to log in.
Yeah. You until Facebook tells you. And by the way, if you do have to reset your password, they will do that for you. They won't change your password and hand you one and say this is your new password. Instead, they'll invalidate it. So the next time you log in, it'll either fail or it'll say, hey, you got to change this, or they'll send you one of those password reset emails automatically saying, hey, there's a breach. We're going to change this. But for now, there's not really a whole lot you can do. You can go through, your browser sign-ons and, go through the, app connections and check those out just because. But, for you guys sitting at home, the Facebook users, there's not a whole lot you have to do. And that's because the Facebook security team is working late, long hours trying to keep you all safe.
Our next story came also this week about Facebook, is that they're giving advertisers some secret information about you, not like super secret information, but stuff you give them that they're not supposed to share. And the example story is a two-factor authentication phone number. So in Facebook, you can advertise anybody you want, but you have to, if you want somebody specific, you have to give them very specific details. So Kashmir Hill and Gizmodo, we link there, is saying that she had somebody, that a professor of hers, that only used his landline to authenticate on Facebook, the two-factor code. I don't know how that works, but whatever. And she was able to get him a targeted advertisement based on that phone number, which is a really low-down, dirty thing, that they're using your two-factor phone number to target you, or something that's for security purposes, account recovery, or whatever else. And that, to me, that's really creepy.
Yeah. So let's not blame the security team.
Not the security.
I don't know for absolute certain, but I can say almost certainly, I can give it my best educated hunch that This came directly from the marketing team. It's if ever you wanted to get people to not use two-factor authentication, right? Now phone number-based two-factor authentication it's not great to begin with, but if ever you wanted to push people away from it completely, because for some people it is their only option, this is the way to do it. This is reprehensible. It's evil, and absolutely it's creepy. When somebody hands you their phone number for two-factor authentication to improve the personal security of their account, right? Because you want them to use your platform, you want them to feel safe posting on your platform. You want to make sure that you lower support costs by making sure that their accounts are as hard to hack as possible. Then you turn around and use that information against the person. No, that is reprehensible. There are many strong words, but we do try to keep this podcast PG rated. It is evil. And what Facebook has done there is evil. If you're looking for a reason to leave Facebook, I add that one to your list.
That is the reason to leave Facebook if you're going to do that. Because it's like, I don't want to. So both Tom and I have both Google Voice numbers and actual cell phone numbers. For two-factor, so first, we both use the app or U2F token, but generally it's better to use your cell phone number just in case you accidentally give Google your two-factor Google Voice number and you get locked out. But for the most part I try to give my actual phone number to my cell phone, but I don't want anyone to have that. I want everyone to go through Google Voice and go from there. And then to find out that they're targeting me that way is a really terrible thing. Like it really is annoying and bad and all the nasty stuff.
Yeah, that's utterly evil.
And so those are the two Facebook stories. Our next story is, I guess you want to do GPG or you want to do VPN?
Let's take on GPG tools.
Okay, so I guess I'm the one who has the Mac GPG tools. So we've recommended PGP and the free version GPG, which is the way we encrypt and send email. So we tell everyone if you have a Mac, you go to GPG tools. That's the best one, the one to use right now. You download it. It works in your Mail.app and has some plugins, and it works really nice. It's beautiful. Recently, when OS 10 upgraded to Mojave, they also upgraded, and all of a sudden I got a pop-up that says you have 30 days left of support. Otherwise, buy a plan. And I said, huh? And there was no documentation, like very little documentation. And it read as if, there must be some extension or some added service, but there was no way to remove it. And you kept on going, and now they released an open letter saying, no. We're taking the open source protocol of GPG, which is you can download. We'll get into that. And if you want the extension into Mail.app, yeah, you have to pay for it. We need to eat. This is our way of forcing you to pay money. And that's it. And the problem is that, and we'll get into this, is that nobody really uses PGP anymore. Sending encrypted mail is getting thrown out for whatever Signal or other encrypted messaging. So now they're asking for money, and I'm probably just going to uninstall it and do what Tom recommends, which is to install it via the command line.
Yeah. So let's just to be clear, just to clear the air, this is not the GPG project, right? The GPG or the GNU PG project is totally open source. It's free. You can download it for everything. You can install it on anything. It is a fantastic project, and you should donate if you have the ability, because it does power a lot of the nice signing and encryption functions in a lot of software that you may not know about. Do you use a Linux distribution? Well, most of the time, the packages and the repositories that you're pulling down are signed by GPG. Like it's a really cool, really awesome core piece of software. Now, GPG Tools packages this up in a nice installable way, gives you a plugin into the Mac's default mail application, which is actually pretty spiffy as far as mail applications go, and gives you a super clean way to encrypt, decrypt, sign, and verify email. Apparently, they've been running these betas for free for forever. And they decided that, okay, this is our 1.0 release. They had communicated in some previous mailings that they were going to start charging when it hit the 1.0, the full release. We feel like we can finally charge for the software we've put together for years. So when that time hit and they made the release, they pushed it out there and said, yep, we're going to charge now. And apparently they didn't communicate it well enough, so everyone lost their collective minds. If you go on their Twitter, it's constant firefighting, people being super surprised about GPG tools popping up what looks like a spammy shakedown of, hey, give us money or you can't encrypt email anymore. You can still decrypt email, but you can't encrypt email. And it threw people for a loop. So you can pay for it. I don't think they're evil. I honestly think this was a mistake. I think it was a communication issue at the very root. But if you do want a free alternative, Thunderbird, the free plugin Enigmail, and through Brew, you can install GNU PG. Those three things will give you the ability to encrypt, decrypt, sign, verify, all that stuff in the Thunderbird email client for free.
So when we initially started talking about encrypted mail, you sent me to the GPG site, and I went down to OS 10, and GPG Tools was their first recommended piece of software. So it's obvious. So it's not exactly obvious that it's the nice packaging of the open source library, because it says it's the implementation of this, and by reading it you can find out more. But again, you're talking about security, and the fact that they didn't explain what was going on is also really annoying. So every time they had a new OS 10 upgrade release, they would say hold off on either installing OS 10 or wait for us. And they would always say, this is a beta. This is a beta. We're not sure if it works, so we're letting you know it's a beta. It's a beta. And now they're saying, oh, we're out of beta. It's like, what? How did you get out of beta? Did you have Mojave long enough to work on this? What was going on? And like you said, they didn't communicate. And in their letter, they said, well, we did. We've been mentioning it. I never knew about it, but they haven't. And this takes us to the next topic that, why are we still encrypting email other than we want to do it? We want that old, yes, we can encrypt email, because I don't think it's the safest way anymore.
It's really not. So if I want to communicate with you securely, and we've done this, plenty over the past however many years, right? I will send you a message on Signal, or you will send me a message on Signal. We can attach files. We can send photos, videos, audio clips. We can send GIFs through Signal now. That's how complete this package is. Encrypted email was never really a need until Signal's feature set got up to parity. Attaching files was the big one. In the past year and a half, I've probably received one encrypted email. I don't really get too many, and to be honest, they're kind of a pain to receive because I can't decrypt them on my phone. I have to go to my computer at home, grab my keys, unlock them, open up the mail client that I hardly use anymore because I usually just swipe all my email away on my phone. It is really a pain to use encrypted email. And on top of that, it's not really super secure. The vast majority of value of email to somebody who's spying on you comes from the headers, which are not encrypted anyway, right? They can see that me and you are talking, right? They can actually see probably what we're talking about when they look in the subject line. Because, by the way, even when you use PGP mail, the subject line stays unencrypted. That's totally clear text. So if you say, secret plot to take over the world, the plot itself will be encrypted, but you and your cohorts on that email list and the subject line will totally be sent in the clear. Email and even encrypted email is a super easy way to shoot yourself in the foot if you're trying to hide from someone. Use something like Signal, use something like WhatsApp, use something that uses the Signal protocol to, plan nefarious plots or organize a dinner party, because that's really the only secure way to communicate. Email just doesn't cut it anymore.
So just stopping you for 1 second, you mentioned the word WhatsApp. So if you used WhatsApp with a different phone number and you have a Facebook account also logged into your phone, I bet you Facebook can make the connection and insert that other phone number onto your shadow Facebook profile that they can target ads against.
Yep.
Again, that's the creepiness factor.
I wish that Signal was as slick as WhatsApp. And there are just like little tweaks here or there that they need to make to get to that minimum bar. It's just like last time we tried to use it as a group. Last time we threw it into our WhatsApp group and said, hey, let's try to make this a Signal thing. It just didn't work out all that well. It just was not a good user experience. And everyone pretty much said, yeah, this isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's certainly not as good. So we went back to WhatsApp.
Remember, WhatsApp has that desktop that you can use literally anywhere you want. Yeah. And all of us have jobs. So if we're going to talk about it at work and we value the RAM on our computer, we're not using Slack, so we're using WhatsApp instead.
Yeah.
And so because again, we don't know when you join our WhatsApp group, we don't ask you to tell us about yourself. You can just talk or just listen or do whatever. So again, we assume that nothing is secure, but at least we know that it's encrypted there. So our topic is it's just security in 30. You don't know what that's about. Obviously, it's insecurity about our podcast, but the contents of it you don't know because it's encrypted. And it leads to what does Facebook really see and all that other stuff. But it's the good part is I think all the keys are regenerated, so there's perfect forward secrecy. Remember, WhatsApp uses the Signal protocol, so you have the perfect forward secrecy that GPG doesn't have. So I think it's time. I think it's cool to put your fingerprint there, but you were talking about encrypting or putting the signature of software, which is like the real good use of it.
Yeah. I think signing software is a perfectly valid use of GPG. And keep in mind, it's not really using the PGP spec anymore, right? The PGP spec is ancient. It's using other signing mechanisms that they've kind of layered onto the GNU PG program. And it works really, really well. It can be really, really secure for certain use cases, right? If you need to authenticate some software, yeah, that's a good way to do it.
So I don't know if we have much more to say about this, but I have a feeling this was not the right way to do it. I have a feeling I probably will be uninstalling this and going through the command line, through Homebrew and through all that to get PGP. But I think I've moved on. I have my key. It's time for me to update it. And I said, you know what? We'll just leave it because if somebody wants it, we can move on. So we have 2 minutes to do the last topic. Do you want to do the last topic of NordVPN?
Yeah, we can do the last topic. Okay. So NordVPN, it turns out, was using some weird... I keep saying not to do this. People keep doing it. They must not listen to the show. They rolled their own authentication crypto by like smushing a bunch of stuff together with like a SHA function to hash it up. It's really bad. Like it's not the most insecure way to do credential management or logging a user in, but it's certainly not good. There's in no universe is it the right thing to do. So yeah, some people read into that and said, hey, if they're doing this here, what other kind of horrifying things are they doing on their back end with OpenVPN? Which, by the way, OpenVPN is really, really easy to misconfigure and really easy to shoot yourself in the foot with it. So I know I've used NordVPN in the past. I've even recommended NordVPN in the past, and now I'm eating those words because, I'm not going to be renewing my subscription. There's an entire other topic about are commercial VPNs viable or worth it at all, but we don't have time for that today. It'll have to be in the future, or you can jump into our WhatsApp group and we can hash it out right there.
There's uses for commercial VPNs. There's not uses for commercial VPNs. We've spoken about them before. We should do another recap of it, but we saw this because NordVPN always comes up as, well, we're not recommending VPN. This is the one that we use type recommendations. And they hit all the check boxes that they don't log, or they say they don't log. They're not in the Five Eyes. They have all these things. And then they do something like this. And whether this was a mistake or not a mistake or whatever it is, it happened, and they should obviously fix it. But when you're dealing with VPNs, this may have lost a significant part of this, the really secure people who care about it. So I think that's it. Now,
yep.
I think the good news is that, yeah, after our break, we can record now every week. We should get a few shows in weekly now for a little bit. So thanks for sticking with us for the little 3-week break, but we should be back to a more consistent basis, and we'll see everyone next week.
See you, everyone.
Bye.